Good evening. Welcome to the Anaheim Elementary School District July 28th board meeting. I am AESD Board President Mark Lopez, and I call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person and will be available on our Anaheim Elementary YouTube channel for members of the public after the meeting. Spanish interpretation of the board meeting is available to attendees. Para español, puede conectarse por teléfono de la siguiente manera. Llame al 802-715-3730. Cuando se le pida, presione el PIN 847-105-690 y el símbolo pound. Item 3A, let's begin with the flag salute.
Please stand, put the right hand over your heart, ready, begin.
All right, thank you. Item 3B are introductions and roll call. We'll begin with Dr. Paulo Macallis, board member.
Here.
Ryan A. Rellis, board member.
Present.
Juan G. Alvarez, board member.
Thank you.
Jackie Philbeck, board clerk.
Hello, everyone.
Again, I'm Mark Lopez, board president. Dr. Christopher Downing, superintendent.
Good evening.
Dr. Mary Grace, our assistant superintendent of educational services.
Hello.
Dina Melland, assistant superintendent of human resources.
Good evening.
Jesse Chavarria, assistant superintendent of administrative services.
Good evening, everyone.
Tracy Golden, our senior director of school safety and operations.
Good evening, everyone.
Iris Camacho, our senior administrative assistant. Mary Madrigal and Alina Avilar Roque, our interpreters. And Janice Cato, our technology support technician. Item 3C, our report of closed session actions taken. There are none. Item 3D, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Rellis.
Thank you, Trustee Rellis. Is there a second?
Second, Philbeck.
Seconded by Clerk Philbeck. Any discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Trustee Macallis.
Aye.
Trustee Rellis.
Aye.
Trustee Alvarez.
Aye.
Board Clerk Philbeck.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Passes 5-0. Takes us to item 4, special order of business. Item 4A is our possible adjustment to trustee area boundaries per Education Code Section 5019.5. Ronald D. Wenkert, our legal counsel. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Is it okay if I take off my mask so you can hear me a little bit better? Okay. It's been a few years since I've been to one of your board meetings. I see a lot of familiar faces, so it's great to be here. This presentation is about adjusting trustee area boundaries, which is required every 10 years. It's a much simpler process than the process you went through a few years back when you went from an at-large voting system to a trustee area election system. So I'm going to start by just mentioning some of the things that you probably already are aware of, that you have a current trustee area system. Under that by trustee area system, each board member must reside in that trustee area, and only those people who live in that trustee area vote for that board member. And then the elections are staggered, with 2 board members being elected in one election and then 3 board members in the next election. Now, federal, state, and state law requires that trustee areas must be equal in population. So the trustee areas cannot vary more than 10% in population. And due to growth and shifts in population over a 10-year period, the trustee areas may vary by more than 10% after 10 years. So Education Code Section 5019.5 requires that school districts adjust their boundaries every 10 years following the release of the census data. And that census data is expected this year in September, hopefully in September. Typically it comes out in March, but because of COVID and other things, it's been delayed a couple of times. The latest we've heard is September of 2021. And then the numbers have to be verified by the state, so the demographer can't really use the data until in mid-October usually. So the statutory deadline for making those trustee area adjustments, if they're necessary, is March 1st, 2022. So it could be a very tight timeline, especially if it gets delayed any further. Part of the issue is going to be the shortage of demographers. There's only a limited number of demographers who do this work, and everybody's going to be doing this at the same time, so there could be a bit of a crunch there. And if you don't meet the deadline, then the Orange County Committee on School District Organization has to step in and make any changes if necessary. So as I mentioned, you have to retain the service as a demographer. The demographer reviews the census material to see if adjustments are necessary. So if after the demographer does that review, if there is not a variance of more than 10% in your trustee areas, then you're not required to make any adjustments. So you could simply adopt a resolution maintaining the current boundaries. You could adjust the boundaries if you wish, but it's not necessary. If they vary more than 10%, then you're required to make adjustments, and then the demographer would propose several maps based on your input, based on the public's input, and then we would have a public hearing. There's no requirement to have a public hearing, but typically we would have one public hearing, maybe two, and then you'd make a decision on which map to adopt. So we're looking at a timeline probably at the earliest November, December for the demographer to look at the data and let you know if boundary adjustments are necessary. And probably if they're necessary, we're looking probably January sometime to start the process or have hearings. Hopefully we could do it in December, but December is a tough month because of the holidays. So we would just have to see. So with that, I'll just open up with any questions you might have.
Any questions, board members?
Just to clarify then, you will be basically pulling up the data based on our current maps that we have, correct?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we'd look to see if you look at the lowest population trustee area and the highest, do they vary more than 10%? If they do, then you have to make adjustments. If they don't, you can keep them the same if you wish.
Okay, I had a question
Sure.
regarding the timeline, because you mentioned that the demographers would have, at the earliest, they would have the data November, December.
Yeah.
Should that be delayed? Because I know the Census Bureau was a little delayed with gathering a lot of the data. Would that March deadline of 2022 be able to be extended, or is that a hard deadline that we're held to regardless of when we get the demographer information?
We would have to go to the legislature and have them move that deadline. And that's a possibility, because they're aware. There has been some discussion with legislators about the fact that if the census results come out any later, we're going to have a time crunch. So they could push the deadline maybe to April or May. It can't be much later than that, because the Registrar of Voters needs the new information if there's any adjustments in the boundaries by June for the November election. So there'll have to be some discussion about how far they can move that deadline, but it's a possibility if necessary.
Okay, thank you. And I imagine we won't be the only local
Oh,
agency
yes.
in that situation.
You got
that can
cities, you got boards of supervisors, you know, special districts and school districts. So
Okay.
yeah, there'll be a lot of agencies in the same boat.
happen. All right, great, thank you. Any other questions? No? All right, well, thank you very,
Well, thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Sure, anytime. Thank you.
That takes us to item 5, news and updates. Item 5A is our parent leadership group updates. There are no parent leadership group updates this evening. Item 5B, association updates. There are no association updates tonight. And item 5C, district news and updates, communications and public information. There is a district news and updates item. Jesse Chavarria, our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services. Welcome.
Good evening, Board President Lopez, board members. On Friday, July 16th, our district had an electric bus unveiling event. The event was done to promote and highlight the receipt of 4 electric buses through the California Energy Commission grant. We expect to receive an additional 4 buses through this grant sometime in September, as well as an additional 4 other buses through the Southern California AQMD grant. These are all electric buses. So by this fall, our district will have a bus fleet that will include a total of 14 electric buses. So the 14 buses mean that 25% of our daily routes could be run by electric buses sometime in this fall. The environmental benefits of having electric buses as part of the bus fleet are tremendous. Our district media services put together a short video from the electric bus unveiling event that we want to share with the board this evening. So Brian?
Well, we're really excited about today's opportunity. We're being joined by representatives of the California Energy Commission as well as some of our state legislatures to celebrate the fact that our district is receiving 8 new electric buses by this fall.
I'm thrilled to no end. I'm excited for our new buses. I think our families, I think our students will be excited for this. It's a real game changer for the health and safety of our families and our students and our community, and it's helping the environment as well.
By implementing these buses for each one that is in operation, we anticipate reducing approximately 23 tons of greenhouse gas per year. I'd also like to recognize the city for their help in allowing us to install an electric vehicle charging station here at our district office so that our buses will always be charged and ready to go.
We are proud to be doing our collaborative part in supporting our state in reaching its climate goals.
I just want to, before, if there are any questions, just want to add that today we also received notification from the Southern California AQMD. We put in a grant because 27 of our diesel buses qualify for a new grant to be replaced for electric buses. They will be informing us in the next couple of months how many we qualify for. We're expecting that we'll qualify for at least 12 to 14 new electric buses as well. So.
I do have a question for you. With that and in regards to the whole issue of qualifying for more buses, et cetera, and we already have received these, et cetera, are we going to be doing any type of study in the sense of how much money we'll be saving with the whole issue of gasoline and maintenance, et cetera, versus that of electricity?
Yes. One of the good things about partnering with the city is that we have our own meter directly that tells us how much use will be used by those buses. And the reason we did that as well is because we'll get a lower rate because it specifically ties into the buses. So nothing else, goes through that current charge. So yes, as we make progress, one of the things we do in transportation as well, we maintain logs of all the work, services and things like that, the cost of each bus in terms of maintenance. And so we'll see the benefits of electric versus diesel or other alternative fuels in terms of the annual cost for us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other
I have
questions?
a question.
Before, not so fast, Mr.
Stay up there,
Chavarria.
Mr. Chavarria. Stay in the hot seat. Well, first of all, thank you to you and to all the ones that are so diligent about finding these grants and putting these grants in and the work that is involved in that. And the way it's turning out is just, tremendous. It's really a source of pride for us. And I've had so many compliments from people that are just blown away that we have these buses now and that we're thinking, along lean green terms and for the environment and the economy. And so thank you for that. I wrote it. It was just a thing of beauty. I cannot remember if there were seatbelts or are they required on the school buses? Because, I honestly didn't notice. So are there seatbelts or are they not required?
Yes, any new bus is required to have seat belts. There is up to a certain year, and I don't recall the year off the top of my head, that anything built up to that point was not required. But for the last, I would say 12, 14 years, it's been required as part of the building the bus. So
Okay.
if you saw the video again, you will see those seat belts in those seats.
Yeah, I just didn't recall, because, we were all so excited, just hop in and ride.
Yeah.
And it was, a lot of fun, and just the dashboard or the front of the bus was just amazing, state of the art, so thank you.
And that is one of the things the bus drivers, also part of the procedures, they teach the students how to utilize the seat belt so they can kind of buckle. And that's one of the things that the bus drivers, as they go, when the kids load up, that's one of the procedures that they have to go seat by seat, making sure that the students are wearing their seat belts.
Well, since it's a bench seat, is it, kind of like a Disneyland ride where they pull the whole thing across everybody, or was there separate?
They have their individual one,
So
and the
they're
older
individual
buses
belts?
had a lap belt, but now the new ones have the shoulder strap
Yeah,
as
the
well.
shoulder also.
Mhm.
That's great. Okay, anybody that was asking, I hope you're hearing this, because
Yeah.
a lot of people were asking if they had seatbelts. So, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, it will be posted after our meeting, the video. Any other questions and/or compliments for Jesse and his team? Okay, you're safe to
Thank
sit
you.
down for a couple items. All right, thank you, Mr. Chavarria. That takes us to item 6, public speakers. There are no public comments submitted. Item 7 is our superintendent's report and public hearings. 7A, it is recommended the Board of Education declare a public hearing for the purpose of hearing comments regarding whether pupils in the district during the 2021 to 22 school year will have sufficient textbooks and/or instructional materials consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum frameworks adopted by the California Department of Education, Education Code Section 60119 and Section 33126. Written comments may have been submitted online via a form and must have been received by 12 p.m. today, Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. After hearing no comments from the public, we will now adjourn the hearing and give notice that a vote on this item is scheduled for the August 18th, 2021 regular board meeting. That takes us to item 7B, AESD COVID-19 Safety Plan. Dr. Christopher Downing, our superintendent, Tracy Golden, Senior Director of School Safety and Operations. Dr. Downing, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, members of the audience, and the Anaheim community. By now, everyone is aware safety is our #1 priority. So on July 12th, the state of California and the California Department of Public Health revised their guidance and safety protocols. This evening, we will share with you the AESD COVID-19 Safety Plan. And I'm going to ask Tracy to take us through the next slides.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Next slide. Okay, so like as Dr. Downing said, I do want to emphasize our commitment, our continued commitment to safety. Just to review a little bit about the agency structures that we have in our country, the CDC is advisory, so when they set out their recommendations, they are recommendations, but the public health mandates and enforcement belong to our state and county. So we just want to, let everyone know that we are following the guidelines from all the state and county, and we continue to monitor it, and we will, of course, adjust our plan as needed. Next slide. So again, there's a link here for anyone that wants to see what the most up-to-date guidance is from the state. That's the California Department of Public Health, the Orange County Healthcare Agency, and also we are also under the guidance of Cal OSHA, which is the agency that regulates workplace safety for our employees. So again, we're monitoring all those agencies and making sure that we're in alignment with those. We will continue to communicate any testing and vaccination opportunities for our families and staff. And then we will be training everyone on all the safety protocols this year and as needed throughout the year, and also when changes are made and updates are made. So we continue to be very transparent about what we're expecting in the schools, and again, with the focus on safety. Next slide. So masks, there's been a little bit of changes in the mask mandates. In fact, this week, you might have heard about the CDC changing something yesterday, actually, which actually puts them in alignment with California. So masks are optional outdoors, but they will be required for all staff, students, and visitors when they are inside district buildings. The makeup of the masks haven't changed, so they need to be 2 layers, they need to be covering your nose and your mouth, and we will provide both cloth masks to students and staff, and we will have disposable masks available for anybody who needs it. Next slide. Physical distancing, there are no physical distancing in the new guidance. Barriers such as those plastic plexiglass shields are not required as long as everyone is masked. And since we're requiring the masking, we do not require the barriers to be set on the desks. However, we will have those barriers in our lounges because our staff will be eating and they'll be taking their masks off. So that's an extra layer that we've put in for that. But otherwise, students and staff will still stay in those cohorts and try as much as possible so that we can limit, contact as much as possible, but we aren't required to have the 6 feet of distance. Next slide. Our ventilation plan, our increase in ventilation has not changed. We are still operating the Halo LED systems, the purifiers. We also have the HEPA air purifiers in places where they're needed. And all those filters have been changed over to 4-ply filters and have been installed in all our buildings. Next slide. So our screening protocols for all people who enter our buildings is required. Our employees are self-screening and taking their temperatures at home and using the company nurse to report that they're okay to come in or that they don't have any symptoms. Our visitors are orally asked the symptom questions and are having their temperatures taken before they can come into the buildings. And then for our students, parents are asked to take their child's temperature at home and to monitor them for COVID-like symptoms. The district will be providing every family with a no-touch thermometer so they can do this. Next slide. So COVID testing, we will be utilizing the state's school rapid testing program, which provides free antigen testing kits. And so we will have both at Key School, we'll set up a testing site so they can do it there, but we will also have at-home kits available for any family that would like to use that. And that will be available Monday through Friday at Key. Next slide. For quarantining and isolation, every school still has a student care room, which is an area for the students to wait if they need to wait for a parent to pick them up, if they come down with any COVID-like symptoms. And our staff will be retrained in those procedures and provided the appropriate PPE. Next slide. And then hand hygiene. This hasn't changed at all since the last guidelines. It's always a good idea to wash your hands, so we want to make sure that we are teaching students how to wash their hands for 20 seconds at least and not to touch their eyes, nose, and mouth. And we have hand sanitizers in every building, at every doorway, and we are also stocking all our restrooms and sinks with soap and paper towels. Okay. And I'm going to turn it over to Jesse Chavarria, who's going to talk about the cleaning and disinfecting.
So as far as cleaning and disinfecting, we understand is part of the mitigating strategies to prevent the spread of COVID. For that purpose, all custodial staff have been trained on the EPA-approved disinfectant use, as well as the equipment that's needed for that in the proper use of PPE. And currently, we are deep cleaning and disinfecting our offices and school sites prior to the start of the school year. Also, classrooms, offices, common areas, restrooms, and surfaces are and will be sanitized daily. And of course, high-touch areas will be sanitized throughout the day. Next slide.
In terms of visitors, access to school by non-essential visitors, volunteers, and activities will be limited, and access to the school will not be limited for direct service providers. Next slide, please. So our district will follow our current PPE guidelines from CDPH for all school staff. That would involve the use of surgical masks, gowns, eye protection, and gloves as necessary. And our district will identify the necessary PPE for every task as well as provide training for all staff on the safe use of PPE, how to put it on, take it off, and dispose of it properly. Next slide, please. Additionally, we will be communicating positive cases, so our district's COVID response team will notify employees of a positive case. The notification will include whether there is a need to quarantine or monitor symptoms based on the exposure. Our COVID response team will notify families of whether there is a need to quarantine or monitor symptoms due to exposure. Our district will communicate all current positive cases via our dashboard, which is located on the district's website, and all positive cases, and we are mandated, will be reported to the OC Healthcare Agency. Next slide, please. So, in preparation for the school year, student health packs will be delivered to schools by August 4th, and our district will conduct grab and goes for families that will take place between August 5th and August 12th. Principals will communicate information on school site grab and goes. Additionally, school administrators will host virtual parent information meetings to provide updated COVID-19 safety guidance, information about student screening, masking requirements, and then new school year information. Next slide. So, our grab and go material distribution will include health packs that include antibacterial, wet wipes, hand sanitizer, disposable face mask, as well as 1 pack of 5 cloth face masks, as well as a non-contact infrared thermometer per family. Additionally, our district is going to provide a safe return to in-person instruction that outlines all of our safety protocols as part of the grab and go. Next slide, please. And of course, for more information, please contact your site administrator at each school, or you can contact our district office here at 714-517-7500. Next slide. And our resources, so our plan is in alignment with California Safe Schools for All. We consult with the Orange County Healthcare Agency. As we've said, our guidance is based on the revised guidance from the California Department of Public Health. We are responsible for following all mandates of Cal OSHA, and of course, we meet regularly with the Orange County Department of Education. We share our plans, and these are the different sources that provide the guidance that helps us keep our students, our staff, and our families that come to our schools safe. And with that, board members, that will conclude our presentation, and we welcome any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Downey. Any questions? Go ahead, Trustee Alvarez.
Sure. I'm assuming maybe we might talk about this at a future meeting, but I was thinking about it, and school starts before we meet again. So I had a concern about, let's say there is a class where we do have to quarantine the class because of some exposure. What's the plan for that, for the class to continue their education? So if we quarantine, it's 2 weeks, right? So what will we do with that class for 2 weeks? If you could explain the procedure. Thank you.
So as we found out, we have the readiness to provide our education online. So our students will continue to keep their personal devices and we'll be able to take them home. So if there was a classroom that had to quarantine, we could provide the education for those students virtually.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Board Clerk Philbeck. Do you have any questions?
Just to clarify, Tracy, because it seems, I'm getting different, reports, it seems like every day. But it's correct that we're mandated at this point for the guidelines that we're under to require masking of the students, correct? That is not an option that we're just choosing. We are mandated.
That is correct.
So
The
that's
state of
correct?
Yes, the state of California has mandated that all K-12 students, whether they're vaccinated or not, and staff, wear masks indoors.
Okay, and then we're just going to be continuing to get updates on if that stays the same, if that changes.
Yes. Yes,
We'll
we're
just
watching it.
Review what we have and go from there?
Yes.
Yes, and I'll
Okay.
chime in. In addition to our family letters, we'll be continuously updating our website, and we will make it known if there are any changes from CDPH that require changes on our part as a district.
Okay, and I don't really want to bring this up, but what if someone can't mask, or there is some issue with that? How are we going to work that out?
So there is a process for that, depending on whether it's a student or an employee. And so with employees, they would work with HR on that process, and with students, they would work through either People Services or our special ed department, depending on
Okay.
the situation. But
So
there is a process in place.
We're prepared to,
Yes.
Yeah.
to work in those situations
Yes.
should they arise. I hope they don't, but
Face masks?
if they do, okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions?
Just if I could,
Yes.
we just
You
want to
may.
be clear that in terms of the mask, we have a variety of different kind of masks.
Yeah.
So it's typically an alternative type of mask. But it's a comprehensive process to ensure the safety of the student as well.
That's good to know. So we'd have different types of
Yes.
masks that we can offer or work with. Okay. All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, that takes us to item 7C, 45-day revised budget report. Jesse Chavarria, Assistant Superintendent Administrative Services, and Matthew Slusser, our Director of Fiscal and Administrative Services. Welcome.
Well, good evening again, Board President Lopez, board members. In June, we brought for your approval the 21-22 district budget. At that time, the state budget was still being negotiated by state legislators and the governor. The budget that we presented for your approval was based on the information that we knew at that time. A final budget was approved by the governor in late June, and additional budget trailer bills were added at the beginning of July as well. As part of the budget process, we must present to you a 45-day budget revision update regarding any state budget changes that will impact the district budget. Matt Slusser, Director of Fiscal Administrative Services, and myself will give you a quick update on the changes that took place that have an impact on the district budget. So regarding revenue, in terms of ongoing revenue, there was an increase to the concentration grant, and there was approved funding for the expanded learning time program for K through 6 unduplicated students. And in terms of one time, there's TK planning and implementation grant funding. I'll get into more details in the following slides about each of these. So an increase to concentration grant. So currently, our students who are, low SES or foster youth or English learners qualify, as they say, become part of our unduplicated count. As a district, we're at 89%. And through there, we receive additional funding under the supplemental concentration. And part of the concentration states that any unduplicated student above 55% will receive 50% of the base funding and additional funding for that student. So in terms of the budget, when we came to you, we had that in place, 50%, but it was approved to move that to 65%. So that's an additional funding of $7 million. But in the past, under LCFF, we had the flexibility as a school district to use those monies based upon our LCAP committee and other stakeholder input as to the best use of those funds. Well, the governor is stating that this additional 15% needs to be used in the following manner. So it needs to be used to increase the number of credential and or classified staff who provide direct services to our students, right? And he's going to see this by an increase measured by comparing prior year staff to pupil ratios at schools with greater than 55% unduplicated count versus those that have less than 55%. And there will be a one-time LCAP supplement for the 21-22 school year where we need to detail the use of these funds. In terms of the expanded learning funding, there's a 1.75 billion, but 1 billion that's ongoing. And they want to grow this amount to $5 billion. We are a district with higher than 80% unduplicated pupils, so we will be receiving $1,170 per unduplicated student K through 6. This means about $16 million for our district. But once again, this is, even though we went away from categoricals, this is kind of like a category because they're stipulating exactly how the money needs to be used. So they're saying this money is to provide students with a 9-hour instructional day using expanding learning time per day. So most of our students are in class, including lunch, about 6.5 hours. So we're talking about 2.5 to 3 hours additional time, either before school or after school. And we need to provide students with a 6-week summer school experience. And each of those days during that summer school need to be 9 hours as well. And during the 21-22 school year, we must offer to our unduplicated students, and we must have at least 50% of our unduplicated students taking part or having access to the expanded learning opportunities that we will offer. And then we must adhere to the pupil to staff ratio of no more than 10-to-1 in TK and kinder for our before or after school programs that we may offer.
Mr. Chavarria, could I weigh in on this
Yeah.
slide? Board members, we wanted to let you know with this information, we will be bringing proposals forward to our various committees, taking input and feedback, and bring a plan to you, a comprehensive plan on what those 9 hours would look like. But just know that the 9 hours can include meal service as well, after-school tutoring. So there's various options that we have, and we look forward to bringing that comprehensive plan to you. Yes. Yes, it can include physical activity as well.
So these monies present, like Dr. Donnan just shared, a great opportunity for our families and our students in terms of not only, accelerating the learning, but offering a lot of enrichment opportunities as well. I know part of these funds does have an opt-out clause, and some districts are considering opting out because of the magnitude of the work in order to provide that. But I know we have talked about it, and we are actually excited about this opportunity.
Jesse, I'm sorry, if you can go back one slide.
Mm-hmm.
When it talks about that whole issue of that, the hours of instruction, the 9 hours of instructional and expanded learning time, now, is that measured by just having in-person instruction, or is that also for online as well, opportunities?
The purpose of it is to have the student there for 9 hours at the school site in person, right? There's no talk about, in terms of virtually, it talks about completely just being at the school, right? They want to, and the best way to explain it, if, let's say a student started at 7 a.m. because we offer before school programs or care, then by 4 o'clock they have completed 9 hours of being at the school, right?
Okay.
So that would be a way, but basically all the literature that we have read, all the guidelines specifically stayed at the school site.
And you mentioned something about districts basically opting out, but can families opt out of certain things like that?
Yes, it's our obligation to offer it to all of our unduplicated students. They can opt out. Now, students who are not part of our duplicators, because we do have about 10% of them, they can be part of this as well. Now, the guidance states that districts who want to include those students can charge those students, but we don't feel that that's what we're going to do because, in terms of being at 90%, we feel that every student would be able to participate.
Is the program, the 9 hours, which we would offer, is that flexible? Meaning, can a parent take advantage of it if they want and then, drop out? Or then perhaps during another part of the year, they're back in? Or is it open at any time? Is it flexible, or is it sort of, restricted?
As we develop the programs, we would monitor that. So yes, it's not our plan in any way to penalize parents. This is funding designed to supplement the instruction of students, and we're just excited about the vast opportunities that are out there for us to build on some of our existing quality programs. Not to pigeonhole us, but we've talked about music programs. We have our band, so we could expand a lot of the great things that we're doing already, and make it a program where, again, they're not the requirements that some of our other programs might have had in the past.
I was thinking more of like not penalizing, but more of the sort of the accessibility to parents that might want it at a certain time and then, you know, not want it. Can they go in and out of the program, I guess is what I'm asking, that as that suits their family life and function, or work schedules or whatever, can they move in and out of those offered programs?
Well, the guidance specifies that you offer it, you don't require it, and they want to participate. It doesn't say that if someone came for a few weeks and then opted out and came back again. So the whole purpose is just provide opportunities for them to have that, and if they opt out for a certain time, well, that's the family decision, but you still provide that if they want to take advantage of it.
So they can come back. They can come back and move
Yes.
a little more fluid through the options
Yes.
if they want to. Okay, thank you.
And in terms of TK planning and implementation, as you know, the governor wants to expand the TK eligibility for 4-year-olds. He wants to get this accomplished by 25-26, right, creating a 14th grade. And this eligibility begins in the 22-23 school year. So the governor is asking school districts to use this school year as a planning year, and he allocated some funds for that. Our share of those funds is about $200,000 in order to begin our planning. And Matt's going to share some other budget considerations with you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So a few other budget considerations. AB 138 reduces our unemployment insurance through school employees fund. It goes down to 0.5% from 1.23%. This is a savings of a little over 1.1 million for 21-22 and 22-23. Next item there, elimination of deferrals for 21-22. There are no deferrals planned. We currently, for the 2021 fiscal year, have deferrals, approximately 24 million. Those will be paid to us as of the end of August. So coming soon, that really affects our cash flow and is a good thing for us here. Another item, CDE changed guidance with regards to Esser funds. In the past, they had wanted us to realize funds in the year that we receive them and then carry forward. So it would be like a fund balance. If money was received in 2021, the fund balance would spill forward to 22-23, 23-24, so on until our timeline ended to spend that. Now they want us to realize revenue in the year that it's spent. So the net effect to us on the expenditure side does not change, but what you will see at first interim with regards to the multi-year will look a little bit different with regards to when we are realizing that revenue. And of course, all of these changes will reflect December 15th when first interim is presented to you, and that's as of October 31st for that time. I'll hand it back over to Jesse.
Jesse, I have a question regarding the TK planning, if we could just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so TK is a hot ticket item in pretty much all of Orange County. I know from having a 3-year-old granddaughter on a waiting list. So when I'm just curious, as we do this and we have this program, do we have boundary restrictions? Can anybody who wants come over, do they have to be approved? Are we going to have waiting lists? What does that look like? Do you know?
So for about 2 years, it's been allowable to enroll any student who would turn 4 or turn 5 by June 30th of the school year. And we as a district have been enrolling those students into our TK program since it was allowable. We can admit students into our TK program from any district following our transfer policy. So as long as somebody is interested, they can complete the transfer form, and if there's space where they want to, or we usually let them know where there is space, they can join us at any time.
That was my question too, is that, it's given, preference is given to, space-wise, based on the ones that are in our boundaries first, right? So that would be our boundary students first, and then we would go to outside transfers or whatever if their space permits, or they could be on a waiting list.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
My questions were regarding TK as well, so I might as well ask them now. Could you tell me which sites currently offer TK? And also, how are we funding TK currently? Are there grants that fund the TK for us now? Or is it something that comes out of our own general fund?
I'll take the
The first
place.
part?
Every
Okay.
school site has a TK program. There's 2 that have Spanish DLI only, but we have partnered them up with a neighborhood school, and we provide transportation where needed. And I'll let Jesse answer the budget question.
Yeah, and the other part is, yes, we don't receive funding for certain TK students, but we see it, as these are our students and we want them to choose Anaheim. And so, but when you add up all the cost and the amount of students that come in, we kind of, break even in that regard. But not only that, now we provided that opportunity for our students to experience, TK in the school. And hopefully the families are excited to continue being part of our Anaheim district.
And if I could, just one more caveat. Frequently, with our TK programs by P2, which is approximately April, many of them do turn 5, so they do generate ADA. But as a district, it has been our practice to offer as many TK programs as possible because, as Jesse said, bringing them into our school system, providing that quality foundation, it just is the right thing to do.
Thank you. It's a wonderful thing that we're doing. Our families really need it, so keep the good work on that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And 2 more questions. The average class size for the TK is about what's our ratio?
It is 22 and can go up to 24, but in many places it's below that.
Okay, and I've visited and been on the Zooms and everything, but I'm not exactly sure. Is the program going to be offered morning and afternoon, all day? What's going to be the general format?
It's a full-day program.
So it's full day.
And what the guidance calls for as we expand, it does call for an adult to student ratio of 10-to-1, meaning that if we had 20 students in the class, we would need to have maybe a teacher and an instruction assistant, or something like that. But that's what it calls, and that's the planning piece this year that we will be doing and working with our stakeholders as to how that TK expansion is going to look like.
But it's going to be all day. It's not going to be any sort of, we're not going to split any sort of program here, morning and afternoon, 3
No,
hours.
and the state saw that when they first came out with the 10-to-1 ratio, in terms of facilities, they understood that, oh my God, the school districts are not going to have the space.
Yeah,
And so that's when they changed it, though we want a adult to student ratio of 10-to-1.
okay.
And so we leave that planning to you guys on how that can look at the
Thank you.
district.
And again, having existing programs at every school, we feel strongly that we have great experience in providing quality programs.
And it's just one class at every school, or what
It's-
schools have more than one class, or?
Yes, based on enrollment. So we do
And
have
so
some schools
we are
with-
basing that on enrollment, and we could
Yes.
add another TK class?
That's correct.
If the enrollment supported that?
That is correct.
Great, okay, thank you.
So in terms of next steps, we'll submit the 2021 unaudited actuals for board authorization at the September 8th board meeting. We'll complete the audit process of our 2021 financials. External auditors will present to the board a final report sometime in early 2022. And then, of course, we'll come with the first interim report in December 15th. All the information that we just shared with you will be part of that report, as well as an updated multi-year projection. Like Matt stated, there's going to be some changes based upon that Esser requirements, and then as well as these additional funding opportunities. And I'll open it up to any questions you may have regarding this update.
Any other questions, board members? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Just as a reminder, all of these presentations that were received by the board will be posted on the district website, Board of Education page tomorrow. That takes us to item 8, our consent calendar. Items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and are acted on by the board in one motion. There's no discussion of these items unless a member of the board, staff, or the public requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled at this time? Dr. McCallis, Trustee Relis, Trustee Alvarez, Board Clerk Philbeck?
I will need to pull item 8B7 and 8B8, page 5 and page 6.
All right.
Bottom, I think, page 5 and top of 6.
All right, thank you very much. It is recommended the Board of Education approve, ratify the following consent calendar items with the exception of items 8B.7 and 8B.8, which were pulled and will be voted on separately. Is there a motion for the balance of the consent calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee
Second.
Magalis and Trustee Alvarez. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Dr. McCallis?
Aye.
Trustee Relis?
Aye.
Trustee Alvarez?
Aye.
Board Clerk Philbeck?
Aye.
Also vote aye. That passes 5-0 and takes us to item 8B.7. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve for the 2021 to 22 school year an agreement between this district and the Anaheim Family YMCA at 240 South Euclid Street, Anaheim, California, 92802, to provide program administration, staffing, equipment, materials, training, data collection, and evaluation for the California Department of Education After-School Education and Safety Program. The Anaheim Achieves After-School programs will continue at 23 AESD schools. The fee for this service shall not exceed $4,136,151.75, minus the 5% of indirect costs of $196,959.61. The district will pay for 1 month of program operating expenses of $328,266.01 in advance.
So moved. Relis.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion by Trustee Relis and a second by Dr. Magalis. Any discussion?
I serve on the board for the YMCA, so this would be an item that I will abstain.
All right, thank you.
That's the reason I pulled it.
Thank you, Board Clerk Philbeck. Of course, you're in order before me. I would have also pulled the item due to the fact that I will be working with the YMCA in my professional capacity. I will also be abstaining from voting on this item, and I appreciate just the recusal being recorded in the meeting minutes. With that, we will take a roll call vote. Dr. Magalis?
Aye.
Trustee Relis?
Aye.
Trustee Alvarez?
Aye.
And I will abstain. Board Clerk
Oh,
Philbeck will also
abstain.
abstain. So that will pass 3-0 with 2 abstentions. And that takes us to item 8B.8. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve for the 2021-22 school year an agreement between this district and the Anaheim Family YMCA, 240 South Euclid Street, Anaheim,
moved.
California.
Alvarez.
Second. Relis.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Same reason that I pulled it.
Okay.
I'm on the YMCA board, so.
All right, thank you, Board Clerk Philbeck, and I will also be abstaining for the aforementioned reasons that I stated. We'll take a roll call vote. Dr. McCallis?
Aye.
Trustee Relis?
Aye.
Trustee Alvarez?
Aye.
Trustee Philbeck?
Abstain.
Also abstain. That also passes 3-0 with 2 abstentions and takes us to item 9, our action calendar. 9A, Superintendent's Office. Number 1, it is recommended the Board of Education receive for the first reading revisions to the following board policies and administrative regulations: BP 6158 Independent Study, AR 6158 Independent Study, E
So
6158.
moved. Relis.
Thank you, Trustee Relis. Is there a second?
Second, Alvarez.
Seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Dr. McCallis?
Aye.
Trustee Relis?
Aye.
Trustee Alvarez?
Aye.
Board Clerk Philbeck?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Passes 5-0. Takes us to item 9B, Educational Services. There are none. 9C, SELPA. There are none. 9D, Human Resources. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the appointment of applicant number 07282021-01 to the position of vice principal, effective July 29th, 2021, at a school to be determined. Is there a motion?
So moved. Relis.
Second, Philbeck.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Dr. McAuliffe?
Aye.
Trustee Relis?
Aye.
Trustee Alvarez?
Aye.
Board Clerk Philbeck?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Passes 5-0. Ms. Melland will read for us a short introduction.
Thank you. Congratulations goes to Lindsay Potencio Rhodes. Lindsay came to AESD in 2016 with experience in elementary and middle school teaching. While in AESD, she has served as a classroom teacher and currently as a teacher on special assignment professional development at Jefferson School. Lindsay's new site will be announced tomorrow morning as she begins the transition to her new vice principal position. Congratulations, Lindsay.
Congratulations, wherever you are at home. We will go to item 9E, Administrative Services. There are none. And it takes to item 10, Board Discussion. These are board member activities related to school business. And we'll begin with Dr. McAuliffe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not much. I actually worked this summer. I've been doing summer school at my old alma mater at Chapman University, teaching in the Master's in Teaching Credential Program. I want to take the opportunity to say thank you so much to Dina, who was actually a guest speaker a couple weeks back, giving tips on interviewing, doing resumes for these future educators. So thank you very much, Dina. And that's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McAuliffe. Trustee Relis.
Thank you. I pretty much worked as well, except this last month I was actually spent half of it in Mexico. So I had a great time over there, but that's not related to my duties here as trustee, so I'll spare you all the details, even though it was super fun. Basically, one thing I just want to report is it's always great to go visit our fantastic schools, but it is even better, and I felt so honored to have some of our own leaders from the Anaheim Elementary School Online Academy come and visit me at Cambridge Virtual Academy. And so I just want to give a shout out to Principal Anna Kim and her leadership assistant, Ruth Harris, and their visit. We had a great time. This week, we're doing registration, so it's called the Beehive. And so as a result, it was cool to see the families. They got to see some alumni from the Online Academy there, which was super cool. And it was just great. Just really, I enjoyed having them there and just talking about our program and hearing about their program. And it was exciting for our kids to see their old principal and talk with them and families, etc. So with that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Relis. Trustee Alvarez.
Thank you. I've also been working all summer, so to follow the trend. But no, I just wanted to thank all of our staff and everyone who's involved in running our schools for the the fantastic year that they had during the pandemic, just to drive it down solid nail, because I'm just so proud of us making it through. A lot of our families survived a lot of trauma, a lot of hard circumstances to overcome, but we did it together, and we did it with a smile, and we did it with pride and professionalism, and I'm just super proud of all of you and all your hard work throughout the past year. And with that, I just want to wish everyone good luck as we start our new school year. Hopefully we have a lot of success, which I know we will. I don't know why I'm saying hopefully. I know we will have a lot of success. I'm just really excited to move forward and work towards helping our students grow and our families grow together. And I'm glad that we're all doing it alongside each other. So I'm just really, 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 really happy about everything that's happened in the last year and looking forward to the future. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Trustee Alvarez. A sentiment shared by all of us, so thank you. Board Clerk Philbeck.
Yeah, I think we all were kind of ready to, it was a nice little break that we had. And I just want to say thank you to all of our staff and employees and cabinet. You know, even though we got to take a little bit of a break, you guys were here holding down the fort. So thank you for that, because, you know, sometimes we get a little break, but you pretty much never do. So that's greatly appreciated, and all of our employees and staff and employee partners that have been here, you know, keeping things going for us in preparation for our big opening. And I'm now I feel really recharged and ready to hit the ground running for that, and I'm so excited that we actually are going to be able to be on site at the schools and, you know, the way we like to do it. So I did have a few events that I'll mention. I did attend the State of the City, and it's interesting. I want to thank Mary and Jesse for being such wonderful table partners. Thank you for going with me. It's really interesting, so keep an eye out for the major, is it millions, is it billions of dollars that's coming down the pike here for the huge expansions at Angel Stadium area and Honda Center, including high-rises, and I mean, it's massive. And we can be expecting, I think, some of that to be operational 2023. And the reason I mention it is because that could definitely impact the school district, if depending on who's moving in or how many people are moving in. You know, it could have a great impact on our district as far as enrollment or families moving in. But if you haven't seen some of the sketches and things, take a look. See, they're probably on the city website. They're definitely grand. And I did hear I don't want to misspeak, I won't say the name, but I believe he was the president of Disney Resort. Is that who we heard speak, Marion? Jesse, that did mention with the money that's going to be coming in that they're expecting from this, that is supposed to be sort of a trickle-down partnership with, he did actually mention school districts. So we will hope for that. And, you know, hey, we heard it, he said it, so I can go down there and knock on his door and say, hey, didn't you say that, you know, all these billions, we're going to get like 10% or something? No. So that was very interesting. I did also attend the bus media event, and I will let Mr. Lopez talk mostly about that, but just to say that I was really thrilled. It was exciting, and I just, you know, I really was proud of this district for stepping out, and these buses are just going to make such a difference, and they're so much healthier, and we're really providing for our students. We are really putting them in the best environments, even when they're on the bus. And if you've ever driven behind one of those old diesel ones or whatever, and you get stuck at a light and you're sucking in fumes on those things, you know it's not healthy. So these things are state of the art. They're absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And when you see them down the street, they have green rims, green wheels, which I believe we have to keep on, or that's part of that bus for 2 to 3 years or something. So thank you to all the partners that, you know, worked with us to get those. And wait for they call them the ice cream trucks, but wait for the tones that come out of them, because I had actually not known this, but you have to have a sound coming out of a school bus, because so that the children know it's there, so that, you know, it's a safety thing. And I believe that's a law, or it's some sort of mandate that we have to have that. Okay, so these things are so quiet that they literally are silent. So they had to put almost like I don't want to make the noise, but it's almost like an ice cream, not music, but it's, yeah, it activates at anything under 10 miles an hour or at a stop. So, I mean, it wasn't annoying or anything, but that was a really interesting fact about those buses. Today I stopped by the Oasis. McKinney-Vento, we had like a grab and go, or they actually had, I think they set the families up with this because there was like a survey or a list that went out to the parents, because included in this fantastic package was hygiene kits, a desk lamp, supplies, I believe 2 uniforms. And I asked, well, how did you know? And, you know, the families were the information was collected from the families. And so these bags were put together, and I don't think there's hardly anything that makes me happier than seeing these resources that we have, that we're providing for these families who, you know, really need them. And then across the little parking lot there was also a resource fair. And a lot of people, Ultimate was there, in the library, and it's nice. I like to go to those things because, you know, we get to kind of connect with people out in the community And the library people want to come and bring their little car, once we open up the schools, and their van, and facilitate some library things. And so that's always really exciting to see that, and I'm happy we do that. I know, Maritza, you've been involved in a lot of the community resource fairs, so thank you for that. It's just great for our families, and in these times, boy, everybody really needs it. And other than that, I'm thrilled, excited, and extremely happy to have been reappointed to the Orange County First Five Commission for another 2-year term. And I wasn't sure that was going to happen, so, well, thank you. I didn't say it for applause, but thank you. And I say it because it's really, I love the partnership that we have with this district. In fact, I believe you guys somebody's coming to our next meeting, or isn't there some sort of presentation that our district is going to give at our next meeting for First Five?
Yes, it got pushed back to your October meeting.
Oh, it
we found
did?
out, so
Okay.
we'll update that information in the board memo.
But it's really exciting to be on that commission. I absolutely love it, especially when it combines with the wonderful things that are happening here and the way they can help us and what we can do with it. And so I'm just really grateful to be able to have another term on that. And thank you to the Orange County Board of Supervisors for being kind enough to allow me to have another term. And with that, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Board Clerk Philbeck. Breaking with the theme slightly, I didn't have a lot of work over the summer, but as I alluded to earlier, I will be having some work before the beginning of the school year. The main event that I did attend, as Board Clerk Philbeck referenced, was the electric bus unveiling. And I'm really proud of the staff for all the hard work, for Jesse and his team chasing down these grants, looking for opportunities that are out there to be innovative and bring not only a cost savings to the district, but it also is important for the environment and human health, as the buses are rumbling down our neighborhood streets, idling, that there is that health aspect to it as well, switching from diesel to electric. I will say I was a little disappointed we didn't have that ice cream truck sound on the video. So, but maybe we can add that in there afterwards. Anyway, that was the main thing that I had. So that's all I have to report, actually. So with that, I will go ahead and we can adjourn our meeting at 7:37. Our next, I'm sorry, skipped ahead. So we'll go to future items.
And I'll just add, Mr. Lopez, that you represented us so well at that. And your speech, and I mean, really, you did a great job, and you're so calm, and you really did a great job. So thank you for representing us. He did. I saw it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Dr. Downing. Well, he's a tough act to follow, so. All right. Oh, and I also just want to thank the staff again also for setting up the event, providing snacks. There was some water to help us keeping hydrated, breaking down everything. It was a little toasty out there that day, so I appreciate all the hard work that our staff has done in organizing the logistics of the entire event, and the media as well. So, and all of our partners that we worked with to kind of get this over the goal line. So thank you, everyone. With that, we'll go to item 11, future agenda items. Dr. McAuliffe, Trustee Rellis, Trustee Alvarez, Board Clerk Philbeck. I have none myself, so that now I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 7:39 p.m. Our next regular board meeting will be on Wednesday, August 18th. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.